60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, speaking in the Interview magazine published by Azu Ishekwene, says, and I quote him, "There is still a lot of wisdom in the saying, slow and steady wins the race. If they say we are slow, do they also say we are steady? Then it means we will win the race eventually." End of quote. Hello and welcome. This is 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi. Thank you for joining me on the program today. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari had pledged to fight corruption in his campaign for the presidential seat in the election of 2015. Now, many are doubting whether or not that anti-corruption war is working and whether or not it is lopsided. The president says, and I quote him, "Do you just grab people off the street and take them off to court for trial just because you want to create a semblance of balance?" That was his answer to the question whether or not only PDP members were corrupt and seemed to be the only ones facing trial. Today on the program, LADIPO Johnson, legal practitioner and a member of Nigeria's ruling party, All Progressives Congress, APC. He's here to answer some questions with me. So, join me after the break as I count down 60 minutes with LADIPO Johnson, legal practitioner and politician. Welcome back. Welcome, Mr. Johnson. Thank you very much for coming back on the program with me.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you know, a lot of people still doubt it's the president's anti-corruption war. I've had Ankyo Briggs and a lot of other people on this program saying it appears as if only members of the PDP, the former ruling party, the People's Democratic Party, are corrupt. People allege that within the president's party, some people should be facing trials too. So the president, in answering that, says, well, first of all, the PDP has been in office for 16 years, and being the party of his predecessor, it makes sense that that would be the party on whom the EFCC, the Financial Crimes Commission, will be focusing on. In addition, he also says, if any of my backers or party members has anything established against them, let us see whether I will shield anyone from prosecution.
That's quite apt. Basically, we run a federal system of government.
Yes.
Mr. President is at the federal level. There are state governors in 36 states. Those who feel that one minister or the other, or those in his cabinet, have corruption charges to face should write petitions to the appropriate quarters. In a federal system, the president cannot go from the federal government to the state to say, please, I want a probe of what went on in the states some 3-4 years ago. So, as I said, it is the duty of those who feel that there are people in the present federal government who have cases to answer in their various states,
Yes.
that should take the right steps, either with the EFCC or the police in the states or the Attorney General of the states concerned. We run a federal system. No one should expect that the president will overreach his powers and go digging into various states.
And that's an important point to make, overreach his powers.
Exactly.
Do you think that it's possibly a fallout of our past military administration where people think that the president can do anything he wants to just because?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. The past is still with us. We tend to forget that we're a democracy. We tend to forget that the rule of law prevails. Even in our homes.
Yes.
It is a culture that we're trying to get rid of. It's taken us a while, it's been too long. But basically, you're right. That, I think, is the reason why people are making such calls on the president.
Thankfully, the president has been able to appoint the board of the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Yes.
Thankfully, a lot of APC members are now very hopeful that the over 600 ministries, departments and agencies will finally be reconfigured to include APC members. But there is a complaint with the president's nominations to the Senate. The person nominated for Ondo State to be the commissioner of representing Ondo State on the board of the NDDC is not from the oil producing area of Ondo State. Now, some people have argued that, look, it's puerile to say, you know, he must be from the exact community where the oil is. As long as the man is from Ondo State, let him be. But, you know, the relevant sections of the NDDC Act, Section 2 and Section 12, you know, they're very clear that whoever comes on this board to represent an oil producing area must be from the area in that state that produces the oil. So people are saying, look, if it took the president so long to make these appointments, you know, how could these mistakes still slip through? That is, if the federal government is acknowledging that it has made a mistake in this appointment.
Well, unfortunately, mistakes do happen within the process. Most times, political expediency, things like that, tend to overshadow the requirements based on established laws.
Yes.
But basically, if the Act does say that the person must come from the area or community and doesn't say that comes from the oil producing states,
yes,
and I believe that the courts would say, look at the area. Then we now talk about which local government you come from. And again, these things are moving away from that now.
Yes.
These things are part of the problems we have in Nigeria. Can I, as a Yoruba boy, as a Lagos boy,
yes,
contest an election in Anambra? The answer is yes. But the people there, will they accept it?
Will they vote for you?
Will they vote for you? Will they accept it? If I am appointed a commissioner today in Anambra State, what would happen? And that really is part of what people are calling for, I believe, when they're talking about the fact that there's a need to restructure. Unfortunately, I think it is misunderstood. I believe that a lot of Nigerians at the moment feel we're at a crossroads. They feel that if we must move forward,
yes,
we must look at our constitution again. We must look, for me, I believe we must look at a federating relationship. And when we're looking at a federating relationship, it is a holistic thing.
Yes.
It is not just about what you benefit from what you're producing in your area.
Yes.
It's also about the fact that some are educationally disadvantaged. There must be federal character in several things.
Yes.
And it also looks, we also need to look at the exclusive and concurrent legislative lists and what have you. So these are the things that I really feel that the National Assembly must be looking at. You don't need to waste billions and billions of naira having some conference, whether it is sovereign or otherwise. But we must look at these things. Because from what you've raised, we've seen that there's obviously a conflict when we're talking about federal character, and then when we're talking about other things as well. So we need to do that, and a constitution must constantly evolve, because the law is social engineering. It's meant to help focus us and help us to where we want to get to.
And it can't be static.
It cannot. It has to keep changing. And the bottom line is that we want to make the life of every Nigerian, the average Nigerian, better in the long run. It's as simple as that. That's why we have a constitution. That is why in theory we came together either as a family, as a community, as a state, and as a country.
And with the recent appointment into the board of the NDDC, the chairman and the managing director of the boards, Senator Undoma Egba, who used to be in the Senate, Nsima Ekere was the former deputy governor of Akwa Ibom State, with Akpabio, who was removed at that time. Both South men. You think that will be enough to appease the people of the South geopolitical zone, that now the president, is paying attention and giving those regions that didn't vote for him something?
Well, it's a step in the right direction, but I do not think it will be enough.
Why do you say
it's a step in the right direction? The problem in the South, especially the Niger Delta region, is more complicated than that. The infrastructure deficit is so high. Educational deficits, infrastructural deficit, health facilities and everything. I know that the oil companies have been trying to employ people from the area and everything. But really, the president has to take some further steps. We have to look for a lasting solution. He has to negotiate with leaders in the area to ensure, first thing is to stop the militancy, or to reduce it to its barest minimum. Because we're losing money every day, that pipelines are being blown, and all sorts of destruction. The country is losing every day. So he has to stop that. He has to negotiate that. And that he can do with a carrot and stick approach. Now, some will say that it will lead to more fighting if he uses the stick as well. But I always say that you do not negotiate out of weakness. You must be in a position of authority to negotiate, because we're talking about a Commonwealth of Nigeria. Now, I can hear people saying, oh, is the oil the Commonwealth of Nigeria? Everything is the Commonwealth of Nigeria. To develop the oil sector, money came from one place or the other. Now, whether it was groundnut pyramids, whether it was from commerce from Lagos, from taxation, money came from somewhere. So it is a commonwealth. Our country is a commonwealth. But I am the first to say and admit that people, especially in the Niger Delta region, where the mining, refining or whatever of oil is causing environmental problems as well. With the fishermen and whatever. They must benefit more than the Commonwealth will benefit. That thing is coming out from that place. So my belief is that it is a good opportunity for the president to negotiate with them. I believe that derivation must be increased.
From 13%?
Oh yes, but I don't have a figure. I don't want to be arbitrary about it. But it must come from the process. And whatever is being given, derivation-wise, percentage-wise, should go across board. It is an opportunity for us to appraise. I don't want to say renegotiate, because some people will say we never sat down to
negotiate in the first place.
Nigeria. To appraise the situation now, and then to put together or put forward a structure that will benefit all Nigerians and encourage us to work. For instance, if the Niger Delta is getting a certain percentage, that is from natural resources. I believe that Lagos should get that same percentage from the VAT that the federal government gets from Lagos, because that is from hard work, from value added. And then virtually every state in this country is producing one thing or the other. You have tin from Plateau State, and
so everyone should get their 13%.
Everyone should get their percentage. Then you will find that people, states, regions, communities will be encouraged to develop their areas. When that begins to happen, then you see that the problem we're having in Lagos and in other states, where people are piling in on a daily basis, will not be so bad, because some people will go to other areas and say, I want to work there. They're mining there, I want to work there. I believe that that economy will suit me better.
Yes.
So the country will gradually begin to develop. Each area will develop at its own pace. So it is an opportunity. I know it cannot be done. I mean, it cannot be completed during President Buhari's term, but it is an opportunity. The problem we have in the Niger Delta now is an opportunity to look at the situation, not just in the Niger Delta, but around the country, because we must learn. You cannot sort out the problem in the Niger Delta and then in a year or 5 years' time, someone begins to cause, if mining picks up, and the people in plateau states and in other states begin to cause problems as well. We should look at it as a holistic thing. See Nigeria as a commonwealth, and then we look at how we provide the common good to each area. That is the only way.
Join us again after the break.
Nice question.
Angela, that's a great question.
It's a good question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
That is a serious question. Angela, that is a very great question. Great question, Angela.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Angela, that's a tough one for me.
That's a good question. Good question.
I love to ask questions. I think it's what I do best. You see, I think that the fastest way to learn anything is to ask questions. The right questions that help you get to the heart of the matter.
60 Minutes with Angela. Again, answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, it's 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitumobi, on my hot seat today. LADIPO Johnson, a legal practitioner and a politician from the stable of Nigeria's ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, APC, and that's in Lagos State. I was going to tease you about your direction politically, but I don't want to lose track of the question I want to ask, so I'll come back to that. You talked about not needing a sovereign national conference to talk about restructuring, this country. Are you saying that the current National Assembly can serve as the Constituent Assembly to look at this question of restructuring?
They are Constituent Assembly, as it were, because the National Assembly is sovereign. That is where they operate based on the Constitution. The Constitution is a GRU norm.
Yes.
The fons et origo, as the Supreme Court says, from which all other laws flow. Now, the mode of amending the Constitution or jettisoning parts of it is in the Constitution. And it is the National Assembly that will ignite it.
Yes.
And when they do it, then the President assents to it. So if we have a sovereign House of Reps, Senate, then these are the things they should be looking at.
To do.
If you look at the revenue, mobilization,
allocation, fiscal commission,
whatever,
yes,
that can help deal with the problem of the Niger Delta. They have 13% derivation now.
Yes.
It isn't enough, obviously. Then we have to look at that again and say, okay, negotiate.
Yes, but look at it to do what? Increase it? The 13% they were getting, some would argue with you that they haven't seen the value of that on the ground, and you're talking about increasing that allocation.
That is one arm of it. The second arm of it is that the people affected in the state must ensure that they participate and put people in governance, both as governor, chairman of local governments and whatever, who will ensure that the extra money they get is used judiciously and efficiently to better the lives of the people there. Education, health, infrastructure, and what have you. Now that hasn't been done. There's been a lot of wastage. There was a governor was getting about 1 point something billion naira as
security
votes for about 4 years. Now that doesn't make sense. What was the person securing? And this was passed by the State House of Assembly because it was run by just one party. There were no checks and balances.
Yes.
So our people have to...
That cannot be an excuse that because they're all from the same party, aren't they thinking adults?
They may be thinking adults. Those voting for them, are they thinking adults? You vote from 18 years up. You have to be able to come to a decision. Not that this man is Igbo
Yes.
and LADIPO is Yoruba or LADIPO is a Christian.
Yes.
You must look at it and say, okay, from what this man stands for, he pays me. His programs
Yes.
that he says he will do or
Yes.
try to do will lead to a better economy, will lead to the creation of jobs. I'm just coming out of university, I will vote for him.
Yes.
Meanwhile, someone else says, oh, I'm voting for that woman because she has a more welfareistic program and it will help me because I am a pensioner.
Not because we're from the same area.
So at the end of the day, in this event, the problem is with us, we the people. Democracy is a very, very difficult form of government.
People are seeing that now.
Yes, it is very difficult. And you cannot afford to be lazy in democracy. If it were an autocratic dictatorship or military, whatever, you could stay in your house, say, I don't have a say.
Yeah.
And if you have an altruistic dictator, he'll do things that will be able to
some people
help you.
would argue with you, Ladipo, that the truth is the way the political parties are configured today, how do we ensure that the right people emerge as the candidates? We've seen situations where there are 12 people aspiring to a seat and not all of them have access to the list of delegates, for instance. They don't know where the delegates are. Somebody is in charge of getting the delegates and keeping the list, depriving other people of the chance to sell themselves.
That is the situation. But it's easier for people to manipulate because only a few people concern themselves about the process. Now, when we say get involved in the process, especially in this age of social media, it doesn't mean you have to go for meetings. It doesn't mean you have to contest yourself.
Yes.
But you have to believe that government belongs to you and to generations yet unborn, and that you are holding it in trust for those coming behind you. If you do believe in that, then you will not let anyone trample on your rights. You will get involved as best as you can.
Yes.
Someone from your street says he wants to be councillor, he wants to go to the House of Assembly. First, you know the sort of person he is. Then you help that person, if possible, either by giving advice, either by talking to people, or whatever. I tell you, the system we have now is such that most people who want to contest will have to seek funding because it's an expensive thing. Elections going on in the US now for the presidency, it's estimated that they'll be spending, I think, about $5 billion or something. It's crazy. So it's expensive everywhere. But over there, the culture, you get an email every time, donate $3, donate $5,
soliciting
whatever.
for fun.
When I started politics and I started going to ward meetings here in Lagos, we would go for a meeting, and if it was, if you had 100 naira, 10 naira, 50 naira, you put it, the tray was passed around, and an account would be taken and was used to run the ward. I don't know where everything changed. So now you just see people, the ward meetings are virtually empty, or they're waiting. The day that you have Salah coming or Christmas,
then everyone
the meeting
turns
will
up.
be full because the members of the House of Reps or governor or whatever has sent bags of rice, cooking oil, and what have you. Then again, the women get head ties, gillies, Ankara, or what have you. And I keep telling people that anyone that has imported a shipload of rice to distribute during the elections got that money from somewhere. Either government coffers, as we're seeing now, or some people have donated. And those who have donated will dictate the tune. So when you collect such things, know that you've mortgaged your next 4 years. It's as simple as that. So we have to change that culture.
Okay, and on Thursday, the 21st day of July, Nigeria's finance minister, Mrs. Adeosun says, admitted that we are technically in recession. What does that mean? We're either in recession or we're not. You know, should we sugarcoat this if there is a recession indeed?
Well, I think the uneducated woman who sells boli on the streets,
Yes.
or corn, knows that the economy has a problem. Whether it's in a recession, technically speaking, or
Yes.
not.
Yes.
We all know inflation is up. We all know, for the average man, he knows that the costs of goods have gone up
Yes.
within time. And even the market woman knows that the price of crude oil has fallen drastically over the last few months. So basically, yes, we are there. Now it remains to be seen whether this government can stimulate the economy enough to get things turned around at the same time that it's running an anti-corruption war,
Yes.
and at the same time that it's trying to diversify the economy
Yes.
away from oil. So I wouldn't like to be in her shoes right now. It is a difficult situation, but I believe, I am hopeful that by the first quarter of next year, maybe we'll begin to see a slight turnaround. She did mention a few months back that they would be injecting about 350 billion into the economy.
Yes.
Several times. I think the first one has been done. They've put in some money to the for infrastructure to complete Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, another project. And if local contractors are paid as well, that it will begin to stimulate the economy here and there.
Because now will filter down,
Exactly.
won't it?
With time. But we do hope that government is able to balance things. And when I'm saying that now, I'm talking about the Ministry of Finance together with the Central Bank of Nigeria,
Okay.
just to balance things. And then once things are stabilized,
Yes.
and there's no panic over where the destination or the downward destination of the value of the naira, then maybe there won't be such a huge demand for the US dollar and foreign currency.
Yes.
And the naira will stabilize, and then other things will be put in place.
You know, a lot of people expect that with complaints about such a heavy recurrent expenditure, the federal government will be looking to reduce its size. But many people also ignore the fact that the Constitution enshrines federal character in there. How do you think this is going to be managed without, you know, those sections either amended or extricated? How will it be able to reduce its size?
The first thing is that though he is limited, for instance, with the appointment of ministers, he
Yes.
must have at least 36
Yes.
ministers. You need one per state according to the Constitution. Now when it comes to other things, it's not so rigid.
Yes.
He could do that. Even after appointing the
Yes, but
ministers,
even when he does that, you see the other zones, they complain.
naturally,
Yeah.
he needs to talk to us. He needs to constantly educate the people that look, we're in this journey together. We have to, these steps are necessary. You see, if you do not communicate with the people,
Yes.
then you do not have their support, either in fighting Boko Haram or dealing with the Niger Delta problem, or in streamlining the size of your government. He must do what he can to ensure that government is more efficient. Now, that may not necessarily just mean not appointing people to boards.
Right.
Because that is one of the arguments. There's some people who believe that that is a way of reducing costs.
Cost, yes.
By saying if they're board members, they'll have board meetings, they'll get X naira
Yes.
per meeting, and,
Yes.
and they've saved such. But there again, those boards and parastatals, if run efficiently, most of them bring in revenue for the government. It's a balancing act that he must look at. And if he is saying it is slow and steady, he's almost at midterm. Most people will not complain too much. They will give him the time. But I dare say by the third year, he will be judged on the deliverables, what he has delivered,
Yes.
based on his style and the decisions he has taken and the path he has gone through. I believe that he should ensure that the parastatals are run efficiently. That will help. For instance, look at what customs has declared
Yes.
over the last few months.
It's unprecedented.
Exactly. Is just making sure that you reduce the wastage in the system. And most of these parastatals in times past didn't declare the monies they got to the federal purse.
At least not the full monies.
Exactly. So there is money out there. Even we have a market of about 170 million people. That is a massive market, both for taxation purposes and also for businesses to
commerce.
commerce to thrive and
Yes.
people to relate with each other. So we have to stimulate these things. We have to create the environment. Now this is not just for the federal government, state, local governments as well. Create the environment so that these things will thrive. You don't just, for instance, I'm jumping the gun here.
Yes.
You don't just say, for instance, with traders, you don't just chuck them out and say stop trading. You give them the alternative,
Yes.
because that trading is important. The police, at times, we had a problem in one of the areas in Lagos, I
Yes.
don't want to mention it, where the area commander would constantly just go to bars, restaurants, once it was, say, around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
At
And
night?
Yes, and start to pick people up. And I had to speak to one of the representatives of the Federal House of Representatives
Yes.
to say to him that, look, call this chap to order. Because the night
Nightlife.
economy
Yes.
that Governor Fashola tried to build, and which was increasing in value and adding to the revenue of the states
Yes.
in Lagos here, is being killed by this person. And I think things have leveled out.
Yes.
This was a few months back.
Yes.
So it's good that there is a mechanism. There is a mechanism to report these things, and then they can put pressure to bear. Because at times you find that the police or some parastatals
Yes.
may not be working in tandem with what
The
the
vision,
state government
yes.
wants or the federal government
Yes,
wants.
yes.
And these things are very important.
Join us again after the break. So, what is 60 Minutes with Angela all about? It's not an interview. I like to think it's a conversation between two people making the news, people who are in the news, and those who become the news. And the whole idea is to inform, to educate, or to clarify, as the case may be. It is an art getting people to answer the questions that everyone is thinking in their minds. And that's what we try to do on 60 Minutes with Angela. I ask all the questions that everyone's thinking about and no one wants to voice. All the questions you always wanted to ask, you get those answers on 60 Minutes with Angela every week on this station. 60 Minutes with Angela, getting answers to every question you always wanted to ask. Welcome back. My concluding moments now with LADIPO Johnson. You know, the removal of Representative Jibrin representing APC Kano. He was the chairman committee on appropriation in the House of Representatives, and the fallout of his removal as chairman of that appropriation committee, he says that Speaker Dogara, Deputy Speaker Lasso and others wanted to pad the budget, and that he was removed because of his refusal to allow them to do so. You know, it just gives credence to people who say APC is a combination of strange bedfellows. You know, they're still not handling their success properly. Who would have thought that in July 2016, members of the APC within the House of Representatives would be so disjointed as to make things like this public? The truth is, every time there's corruption, the only time Nigerians get to hear of it is when the sharing formula doesn't pay somebody.
Well, President Olusegun Obasanjo, way before the elections, said that he was certain. I think President Buhari and some other leaders of the APC visited him in Abeokuta. This was before the elections. And he came out to say that he was of the view that the APC would win the elections and get into government. But that he wasn't sure that they would be able to manage the success. And that's what we're seeing that is playing out. Now, this problem at the National Assembly, and not just the House of
the
Reps,
House,
the Senate as well, stemmed from the leadership tussle that occurred. And I keep saying, as much as I admire President Buhari, I felt that the moment he was elected, he should have taken control of the party and had made sure that with a zoning formula agreeable to majority of members, had made sure that the party went in to the leadership elections as one united unit. The fact that the party didn't go in as one unit gives us a problem we're having with the Senate President, Bukola Saraki. To a large extent, the Honorable Speaker has been able to sort out House of Reps. To a large extent. He did that. He moved very quickly, unlike Saraki, to sort out the problem with the House of Reps.
Okay, you mean by allowing some of the recommendations of the party?
Yes. So the Federal House of Reps is slightly more balanced and better, party-wise, than the Senate at the moment. Be that as it may, I believe that Dogara and Jibrin, as you've said, because they worked together.
I know, that's the surprising thing.
The way you are shocked is the way most Nigerians are shocked. Those who know that about the revelations by Jibrin.
And to think that a lot of Nigerians criticized the president at the time for being slow in signing the budget. We didn't know that the alleged padding was so steep.
Yes, and you see, padding will tend to continue as long as we still have a culture where we believe that, I know I'm opening a can of worms, where we believe that the members of the House and the Senate should have constituency projects.
I knew you were going, they're going to have your head.
Exactly.
Because, you know, the business of the legislator
is to legislate.
I've heard a lot of them argue that the ordinary man on the street doesn't understand that the duty of his representative or his senator is to make laws. When they come to visit you at Easter or at Salah, they expect something, a dividend of democracy, having not benefited anything from you anyway in terms of making the laws.
They already have their constituency allowances. The constituency project is different from the constituency allowance. And you educate the people. It is because the people know that you're getting way more than your basic salary. That's why they come and queue up outside your house or outside your constituency.
They're on to you.
Exactly. At the moment, yes, it's like a catch-22 situation. But really, that's one of the things we must look at and say to ourselves, tell ourselves the truth. You know, the system in America, which we seek to follow or we seem to be following, slightly different.
Do the senators
the
there
senators there and members of Congress lobby. For instance, I know that we need the representative from Sule, for instance.
Yes.
I know that we need to create more jobs. I believe that the National Stadium is there. Sule is a sports city. So I now lobby to put one or two things, projects in the budget of the Minister for Works and the Minister for Sports. It's still an executive thing. It must be carried out by them. You're not giving money to legislators to do boreholes.
To do dams and boreholes.
You understand? In this day and age, really it doesn't make sense to me. But as I say,
they will have your head.
Yes, I know that they will say you're a stupid boy for saying all those things. But basically, it is something that we must look at and see. Yes, you have constituency allowances. You have your constituency office, which you should have. I thank God from those in Lagos.
Yes.
I know most of them do have their offices. And,
Do they interact with
they
the
do.
people?
They're beginning to. They do, to be fair. A lot of people at the grassroots can go there, lay complaints. I'm trying to get into university, I've been stopped.
Yeah.
You talk to either your senator or your member of the House of Reps, and they take it up with the Minister of Education or call the Vice Chancellors directly. Say why he's got the required mark, why isn't he getting in? So the process is beginning to work. It takes education. And education is quite easier these days because of social media. Even the market women, a lot of them use their WhatsApp and what have you.
Yes.
So it really is no excuse anymore. We just have to let the average man, average person know that this is a situation. And I believe that gradually we'll get there.
And I know you're very close to the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Kwankwaso, who's now in the Senate. You were with him when he visited Lagos to interact with northerners at the Mile 12 market. He seems to be in Lagos quite a lot. You know, I'm wondering, is this the start of a political campaign towards the presidency in 2019? Is he going to be contesting again? Why is he in Lagos so often? Why was he the choice to meet with the northern members of the market?
He's a public servant. He started out in the civil service for about 17 years before he went to the House of Reps. He was Deputy Speaker.
He's been in the House of Reps.
He's been in the House of Reps. He was Deputy Speaker. Moved on to, he was in the Constituent Assembly. He moved on, he was governor, and then lost and came back 8 years after to be governor again. So he was twice governor of Kano. He was Minister of Defense for about 4 years. And he was also the president's representative to Darfur during the crisis there. So his whole life, his entire life has been government. And as you say, he's now in the Senate. He was the runner-up to President Buhari.
Yes, at the famous primaries.
Yes, which was good. And from what I have laid before you,
Yes.
it is very evident that this is someone, even if he doesn't want to do anything, he will have teeming supporters who believe that with his track record and especially what he achieved as governor in Kano State, 2 universities, various institutes, 20-something institutes or more, infrastructure, so many things he did in Kano. People would be pushing him because he's seen as agile and gets the job done. He doesn't talk much. He's a good orator, but he gets the job done. And a lot of people believe that when President Buhari is done, that this is one of the people that we should consider in this country. Now, he hasn't said that he's contesting. He's working in the Senate. The problem that happened in Mile 12
Yes.
and the fact that he's accessible is what led some of the citizens of Kano and some other northern states to approach him. I never knew they were approaching him until he called me to say, oh, I'm coming to Lagos because of the problem in Mile 12. Some of the marketers feel that they have suffered unduly and everything. And he did try to get in touch with the governor of Lagos to look at the situation. Well, he came to interact with them, and they had over 70-something people who were locked up. You know, the police have a way of picking people up randomly after any community clash. And most of these people were not involved, apparently were not involved in the clash at all. So he came and he was able to sit down with a team of lawyers and paid the lawyers to ensure that these people were released and that these people will be defended in the courts. Well, he made it clear to them that for those who were involved in it, you understand that this is not the way to go. You must be law-abiding citizens wherever you find yourselves. You're in Lagos, you're trading, you're working, you must abide by the laws of Lagos State and everything. And he pleaded with the state government regarding the relocation of the market and the fact that alternatives should be given to them, and if you have to move the markets, then make sure that
they have somewhere to go.
Yes, he came and he comes often. because people invite him to talk, speak, lecture on various occasions and everything. And not just Lagos, he's going round. Unfortunately for him,
Yes.
any step he takes will be seen as a campaign step. That is not the situation, I can tell you that. He's concentrating on his work in the Senate.
But has he intimated you about whether he will consider running again if President Buhari doesn't take the option of a second term in 2019?
Well, if President Buhari doesn't take the option of a second term in 2019, then I am one of the people that will make his life hell if he doesn't come out to contest. Because I really, really do believe that he's got the experience in governance and he is detribalized. Even as governor, he had special advisors from the Yoruba community, from the Igbo community in Kano.
And they were Christians.
Oh yes. Even the scholarship, because a lot of people know that he had about at a stage maybe about 300 or 3,000 students overseas. Even those scholarships,
Yes.
a lot of Christians were benefited from it, not just Muslims. So
Yeah.
he is someone I have interacted with. Yes, his faith is Islam, and he is a very good Muslim, but he does appreciate and know that there are other religions and that there are other tribes in the country and that we must work together. He is presently working on a very, very contentious bill, and to tell you the sort of person he is, he's had us bring together a group of people, not just myself as a Yoruba person,
Yes.
but we have Igbo and some others, to look at this problem, because it is a problem. I don't want to mention what bill it is,
Yes.
and that we should contribute. He's done his own work on it. But to tell you the sort of person he is, he said to me, like, look at it. Let's get other tribes as well to
Yes.
look at it. Let's have a lasting solution or something that will begin to lead us in the right direction. What we're finding is that a lot of us are prejudiced against what he was trying to do until we sat down and started to look at it from other angles or in a holistic manner. So this is the sort of thing we need. We need someone who will be hands-on and someone who can engage the people and also stand for his principles, that I believe that this will be the best for this country, and follow it through, even if it is unpopular. You don't want a leader who just wants to please everybody all the time. You don't want that. At the same time, you want someone who, though firm, will listen to logical and superior reasoning. And that way this country will move forward. So though he hasn't indicated that he's contesting, I am one of the people who will push him to contest if there is an opening. But if not, we feel that, well, God has called him to serve in the Senate.
And 2023 will be another date.
He's still young enough. He's young enough.
And you are still young enough. I know that you were chief of staff of the campaign of Adedosumu, who was the People's Democratic Party candidate in 2011. Are you considering elective office anytime soon?
Well, that option has always been on the table. I've always felt that one way or the other I have to contribute. Anywhere I've found myself, I've contributed. I was in university, I was in the Students' Parliament, then became Students' Union President. I contested in 2003 for the House of Reps under the platform of the PDP. In 2007, I ran for the governorship of Lagos. I knew we couldn't win. It was under the platform of
Nigeria Advanced Party.
With Dr. Tunji Brese.
Why do you say you knew you wouldn't win?
No, the party didn't have the structure.
Yeah.
I'm a politician. I've been there for quite a long time. I may be young, so I know what it takes. But yes, I know that 2019 or 2017, 18, 19, I will be active. Most of us have to be active. We need to be active to move this country forward. We cannot sit and complain from our offices. We have to get out there and get involved. So yes, it is a possibility. Now, where I will serve or will hope to serve, if the people agree to send me forward, I do not know yet, whether it is in the Federal House, State House, or in an executive position. We do not know yet. And it will also depend, of course, on my workings with Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso as well. So we're looking at that, but whichever way, we will be active just to help in our own little way to push our states and the country forward in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson, for coming back on 60 Minutes with me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajitumobi.